everyone, it is Natalie. I am so glad to be back to filming since I have not been filming in about a month. So happy to be back to filming videos for this channel, and so glad that I'm going to be doing another Gimme 5 or More because goodness guys, it has been, I don't know, months and months and months. I cannot even remember the last time I even did a Gimme 5 or More video. In fact, I know there are subscribers that are new going, I don't even know what a Gimme 5 or More video is. A Gimme 5 or More video is something that I came up with way back when I started this channel as just kind of an intro title when I wanted to talk about something specific. So it was like Gimme 5 or More mystery thrillers that I really love, or Gimme 5 or More books from the same author that were really great. So this Gimme 5 or More is really exciting because it's a video that I would watch if one of you did it. So I'm recommending that you guys do it because I want to see more videos like this. But it is a Give Me 5 or More, and it's going to be 20 YA novels that I just have to read. So please stay tuned. Now you may be wondering, why do you have to read these specific 20 YA novels? I have to read these specific 20 YA novels because they are literally on my bookshelves, beckoning to be read. A lot of them are new releases, or releases, when I say new releases, meaning they've come out this year, or they're just supposedly really good YA novels that I've heard about, so I bought or purchased because they had such a great reputation, but yet have sat on my shelf for a really long time. And there's just too many of them, and it's like going to a restaurant where you open the menu and there's like 12 pages and you're just like, I don't know, I just cannot decide what to eat. And that is what I'm having the problem with now. I go to the bookshelves and I'm just like, that looks good and that looks good and that sounds good and somebody said that was really, and I'm just overwhelmed. So I'm going to share with you these 20 books, give you what I know as far as synopsis, and then I'm hoping that some of you will help me and lead me to where I should start in this group of books. All right, the first book we're going to talk about is A Treason of Thorns by Laura E. Weymouth. I believe, well, I do know this was one of my either LitJoy or Al Crate, but I don't remember. No, I think it was a LitJoy book. Pretty sure it was a LitJoy book because I think it came in a bag. And I remember reading about this book before it even came in my LitJoy because it caught my attention. It was supposed to be about houses that were kind of magical or kind of alive. And the main character is supposedly a girl named Violet who comes from a house called the Burley House. And in her childhood, the Burley House was supposedly beautiful, and it kept the countryside beautiful. With it being alive and being magical, it could keep, its surroundings beautiful as well. But there's an oppressive king who is like trying to somehow, I think, take control of these houses in some way, and her father ends up being killed while trying to protect this house from being taken over by this oppressive king. And because of all of that, she ends up going into hiding, I'm guessing, for a very long time. And now in the book, supposedly she is now coming back years later, and this house has become depressed and is basically grieving, and it's not beautiful anymore. The countryside isn't beautiful anymore. It's just, everything is falling apart as it's, exuding, I guess, grieving magic. And so I guess the bottom line is it's supposed to be, how far will she go to save this magical house from, I guess, itself or from its grief or something? I don't know. It sounds amazing. I don't know anybody who's read it, so I haven't heard whether it's good or bad, but if you've read it and you can give me your opinion, I would love that. But I mean, it sounds amazing. I think the cover was really pretty. But yes, this is the first book that I sometimes look at and I'm just like, oh, that sounds really great. All right, the next book I want to tell you about is, I think this is Atlantia. I don't think it's Atlantia. I'm gonna go with Atlantia by Ali Condi. She's the one who wrote the Match series, which I think is a series I read maybe one or two of way back when I was in my dystopian phase. When I say way back, I'm talking like maybe 10, 12 years ago when I was in a major dystopian phase. And I remember enjoying the books. I don't think I enjoyed them enough to finish them, but that doesn't mean anything because I don't finish most series. I believe this is a standalone. I don't believe this is a series. And I got this book at BookCon when it wasn't free. It was just when I was buying books and it sounded good at the time. In this one, we have a main character named Rio who lives in an underground, like underwater city. And there's been some kind of divide where like most of the world has to live above, but a lucky bunch of people get to live below because I guess above it's become very polluted and whatnot. So they send as many people as they can down into this underwater city. But at a certain age, they get to choose whether they want to stay below in this underground city or if they get to go above. And she has a twin sister and she wants to go above, but I guess only one of them can, and her twin sister doesn't want them to be, separated or whatnot. So she makes the decision to stay. But then after she makes the decision to stay, her sister surprises her. This kind of reminds me of like Divergent, when she picks, Dauntless or whatever, where the sister surprises her and it's like, no, I'm going up and I'm going up and above. And, you know, she's gone before the Rio can kind of say, what's happening here? And then also supposedly she's secretly a siren, which I don't know exactly what that means. And also her mother was killed in a weird way. So she has all these mysteries to solve. Like, why did my twin leave me? You know, who killed my mother? Why am I a siren? All these different things going on. I don't know. It sounded really good. Still haven't picked it up. Need to pick it up. If you've read it, let me know. All right, now we are moving on to Angel Madge, which is a book that is, what did I get? I got it in one of my book boxes quite recently. Oh my gosh, which one was it? I don't remember. But anyway, it is one of the new releases that I wanted to tell you about. And it sounds fascinating to me because I think I said before, I've never read a book that's about angelic magic. So, you know, very different. Now, I believe from what I've read, the main character in this book is Lilith, who is basically taken over somebody else's body, and she is trying to reunite with her old love. And the way she is going to do this is she has the ability to summon and force angels to use their magic for her bidding. So I don't know if she really sounds like a nice character, but I think she's the main character. And the love she wants to be reunited with is the Archangel of Istaria. I hope I'm saying that correctly, which is a city that fell a long time ago due to something called the Ash Plague, which basically either killed you or it turned you into some kind of a beast. But there were like a group or a handful of survivors. And out of those survivors, supposedly she's going to pick 4 of them to do her bidding in some kind of way. One of them is supposed to be a doctor. One of them is supposed to be a fortune hunter. One of them is supposed to be a musketeer cadet. And then the last one is like an icon maker who's also supposed to be like a scholar of angelic magic. So I don't know if maybe those 4 will be more of the main characters than her herself, because she really doesn't sound very nice. But she's supposed to be doing all of this in order to reunite with her love. And I'm sure there's so much more to the story, because this seems like, I mean, look at that. That's a big book. And I mean, that's only a little bit that I know. And I'm certain there's much more to it. Somebody said that Garth Nix, who wrote this book, is a really good writer. Never read Garth Nix. But yeah, if you've read this book, or maybe you've heard about somebody who's read this book, I would love to know what they thought of it. All right, our next book is A Dress for the Wicked, which is also one of our newer releases. The main character in this is named Emmeline, and supposedly she comes from a very small town where not much happens. And then she finds out there's this really prestigious fashion contest in the big capital. So when she goes off to this kind of fashion design competition, it says she has to basically navigate the world of like high fashion, distractions, unexpected romance, and unfortunately in any competition you're going to be dealing with sabotage. So I've told you guys before, I really do love books that have some kind of a competition in them. So this one also sounds super amazing, and you know, is one of the other books that, you know, calls to me, and I don't know. Should I read it now? Should I read it later? I don't know. Help me. Okay, now this next book I have shown in so many TBRs and then never gotten to it. I've just shown this book in so many videos. It is so sad that I have not read this book yet. I mean, it's quite pathetic. And in fact, some of you who watch me regularly, when I hold this book up, are going to be like, are you kidding me? You have not read that yet? You've been showing this book like for 6 months, and like, yeah, I know. I've been showing you this book. I've used it in so many readathon TBRs and then gone and used something else. I don't know. It sounds amazing. I don't know what my problem is. And I know a lot of you have read this book and loved it, so I'm going to show it up. Don't be mad at me. But yes, The Last Magician. Yes, still have not read this book. So sad. So pathetic. And I think I've given the synopsis. I should have the synopsis memorized, as I've given it so many times, but it's supposed to be set in modern day New York where magic is almost, I guess, kind of extinguished or extinct. And the main character is Esta, who is a very talented thief who's going around stealing magical artifacts, I guess, in order to bring magic back. It even involves, I've heard, her doing some time traveling to find certain artifacts to reestablish magic. It sounds absolutely amazing. I know so many people who just love this book. Why have I not read this book? Why? I don't know. All right, the next book is not a new release. I believe it's been out for quite some time because I believe the sequel came out this year, and that would be Furyborn, which, oh my goodness, can I tell you how gorgeous this cover is? I ordered this book because it was recommended by so many people, and it sounded amazing. Like I said before, cover, you know, just calls to you. But here's my hesitation with reading this book. I've heard this book has so much story and so much time jumping that it can be hard to follow, and that has made me a little hesitant to pick it up. In fact, this book is so complicated, instead of trying to give you a synopsis, I'm just going to read you really quick the first paragraph from the synopsis the book gives you, because I don't know how to wrap this up, and this sounds better than what I could tell you. But supposedly, in Furyborn, when assassins ambush her best friend, the Crown Prince Rael, Darden risks everything to save him, exposing her ability to perform all 7 kinds of elemental magic. Okay, that sounds good. 7 elemental kinds of magic. Okay. The only people who should possess this power are a pair of prophesized queens, a queen of light and a queen of blood, to prove she is the Sun Queen. Rael must endure 7 trials to test her magic. If she fails, she will be executed unless the trials destroy her first. But that's just like a tidbit. Like I said, I've heard there's so much time jumping. So if you've read this book and you're sitting there thinking, oh, don't let that intimidate you, it's great, you'll follow it, it's no big deal, please let me know, because I do want to read it. And especially since I've seen the cover to the sequel, and it's this beautiful red, and I know you're going, you want to read it so you can read the sequel because you like the sequel's cover? Yes, that's why I want to read it, okay? Judge me all you want. It's the truth. But please let me know if you think I can handle this book. All right, next is To Best the Boys. And I picked this specifically because Jesse the Reader was talking about it, and I just adore Jesse the Reader. I really do. I want to adopt him and bring him home. And I know you're going, that sounds really weird. Well, I'm a lot older than Jesse the Reader, so when I see Jesse the Reader, he really seems so young to me, so that's why I say I want to adopt him. I'm sure he has parents and he doesn't need to be adopted, but I just think he's so adorable. But anyway, he's the one who talked me into getting this one. Actually, he's talked me into getting quite a few books. This book is about a girl who enters a world that is exclusively for boys. Hence, To Best the Boys. So supposedly every year these invitations go out to all these very, prestigious families' sons to enter this contest where they can win a scholarship to this very prestigious all-male university. And I don't know if it has to do with being in a maze, but I'm guessing so because look at the cover, they're in some kind of a maze. So that makes me think maybe they have to go through a maze, I'm not sure. Now, some poor boys actually do get on the list, but they're very few and far between. The poor people are just like hoping and praying that their son ends up, getting this invitation, where I guess if you're rich, you have a much greater shot at it. It also says that the wealthy families worry more about if their sons are going to survive, while the poor families just worry whether their sons are going to get a chance. So I don't know if we have kind of a Hunger Games situation going on. Like I said, we have a maze. I don't know if we have a Hunger Games where there's a maze. I don't know. But the main character of this book is a girl who wants to compete in this prestigious game, whatever it turns out to be, because she wants to be a scientist. Now, I don't know if she has to disguise herself as a boy. I don't know what the actual logistics are of her getting into this contest. I'm assuming she gets into this contest because I think that's pretty much what the book is about. It's not a really long book either. Once again, been sitting on my shelf. I've heard great things about it. Why have I not picked it up and read it? Like I said, we're back to that whole too many things on the menu problem. So if you've read this one and you thought it was fabulous, or you thought it was okay, but there's another book you already saw that's much better, let me know, people, let me know. All right, the next book I'm going to hold up is yet another book like The Last Magician, where you've seen it already. I've hauled it. I've talked about it in readathon TBRs and ended up not using it. It sounds fabulous, and once again, I have no reason of why I have not picked it up yet. No excuse. And that would be Dorothy Must Die. And what's even more exciting, I think I said in one of my videos, is I found out that this is a series, and it just sounds fabulous. This is supposed to be about the other girl who went to Kansas, obviously not Dorothy. The main character in this is Amy Gum. She's heard all about Oz. I don't know because of the story or because she lives near where Dorothy is. Like, I literally have not read even one page of this to know how Amy Gum even knows about Oz. I just know she's supposedly called the other girl from Kansas. But when she gets to Oz, she finds that it's very different than from what she's heard, either from the stories or from what Dorothy has said. And she ends up being recruited to kind of help and fix. I think Dorothy, when she went, actually caused a lot of problems. And now they're recruiting Amy to kind of fix these problems. Hence, Dorothy Must Die. So I don't know what Dorothy did, but I think Dorothy screwed up big time. But yeah, it sounds so great, and it sounds like an amazing series, and if you've read this, please let me know. Now, the next book I heard about constantly when I first started off on BookTube towards the beginning of the year. I'm not hearing about it as much because I think most people have already read it, and I think the sequel either has just come out or is about to come out, so that's probably what most booktubers are talking about. But yet, I have had this book since last Christmas. We're coming on a year now, and I still have not read it, and that is Children of Blood and Bone. And this is what is even sadder. I actually have read the first chapter and I really did like it. So I really have no excuse for why I have not dug in, other than it's just a really big book and I don't know, it's kind of a commitment to jump into. I don't know. This is supposedly yet another book about a place where there used to be lots of magic and there's not magic so much anymore. It definitely has an African tone to it. You can tell just by the cover, and obviously you can tell when you read the first chapter because they're talking about a tribe. The main character is a girl named Zelie who does remember when magic was around, but supposedly magic went away due to the orders of a very ruthless king. And in the book, basically it's about her fighting to bring magic back. I've just heard so many wonderful things about this book. I would love to read this book because I've heard so many wonderful things about the sequel, and it's like one of those books that if you're on BookTube for a while, you can't not hear about it. And like I said, no excuse, no excuse. Please tell me. I want somebody to yell at me in the comments and say, read it! Read it, it's good! What are you waiting for? Because I've had this happen, guys. I've had books that will sit on these shelves for 9 or 10 months. I will pick it up and finally read it and just absolutely adore it and be like, what in the world? What a waste! What a waste. It was sitting on my bookshelf for that long and it turned out to be something I just absolutely loved and adored. So this might be another one of those. Please let me know. Please, please, please. All right, the next book that I want to tell you about, I literally was at Walmart and passed by it and it just caught my attention and I thought, wow, I don't know. I just read the synopsis and I thought it sounded great. And that is How to Make Friends with the Dark. And yes, I still need to get this little scratchy thing sticker off of there. And then after I bought it, I started hearing so many booktubers talking about how great it was. So once again, I don't know why I haven't read it. I don't really know a whole lot about it other than that the main character is named Tiger. She has a very close relationship with her mother and then her mother passes away. So I've been told this book has a lot to do with the grieving process and that's really all I really know about it. But definitely very interested. It has a fabulous cover that definitely, piques your interest. If you've read it, let me know. Like I say every time, if you've read it, let me know. All right, moving on to Sorcery of Thorns. Yes, some of you might go, isn't that the book you have 2 copies of? Yes, and I have not read either one of them. I know, shame on me. I will tell you this. I did read the first chapter and I only thought it was okay. Now, I know that doesn't mean anything because there's lots of books that I absolutely love that did not catch me in the first chapter. Tons of books have not caught me in the first chapter. That's really no excuse. But then again, there's other books that I have picked up, meaning only to read the first chapter to get a feel for and then finish it that day. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So I don't know how to feel about this. I don't think one chapter is enough to say it's not for me. I just know in the first chapter I had no problem when I was done with the first chapter going, okay, and putting it down. But then again, so many people have said it's so wonderful. So I know I need to give it another chance. I think I told you guys, I put Hunger Games down the first time until somebody said, girl, you need to go back and read that. And sure enough, after a couple more chapters, I was hooked. So I'm hoping that this is the case with this book, especially since I own 2 copies of it. For the few of you out there who might not know what this is about, I know most of you probably do. This is supposed to be in a world where books are kind of like the houses. They're kind of alive or sentient in some way. And our main character is Elizabeth, who has been trained or is in training to learn how to protect these books. And these books, I guess, are known as grimoires. I think that's what they're referred to. And there's some kind of act of sabotage that happens that releases like the most dangerous grimoire of all, which I guess is basically the whole story and how everything comes together. But please let me know if the first chapter was only okay for you, but then you read more and you was like, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. Because my favorite colors are purple and gold, and hello. All right, the next book, let's talk about Cursed by Frank Miller and Thomas Wheeler, which is soon to be a Netflix series, which I think when they say soon, I'm thinking 2020. This is supposed to be a new spin on the whole King Arthur story, but if the sword happened to choose a female. I think that's the basis for this story. I think that most of the other characters are the same. I did flip through, I've not read any of it, but I did flip through it, and I remember I flipped to a page and Merlin was talking. I was like, oh, that's cool, Merlin's in it. And I do know some fellow booktubers who also, because I got this as an ARC at BookCon, and I know a lot of fellow booktubers who also got this as an ARC at BookCon who have actually read it and really did enjoy it. So once again, now I'm pretty sure, almost 100% sure, that the actual copy is now out. So if you're looking and going, wow, that sounds really interesting, I believe the actual book is now out because BookCon was back in April, May? It's been a while. But it sounds amazing. Have no excuse, yet again, why I haven't read it. All right, speaking of purple and gold, the next book I want to tell you about is The Tiger at Midnight, and I'm pretty sure this was a LitJoy selection. This book supposedly has two main characters. The first one is Esha, who is a trained assassin. She is secretly known as the Viper, and she's been tasked with killing the General Hatha, who I guess is a bad guy. And then our second main character is Kunal, K-U-N-A-L. I'm gonna call it Kunal. And he happens to be the general's nephew. Interesting. He's been a soldier for this kingdom his whole life. So basically you have two characters that are on opposite sides of a war. And I don't think I need to tell you this, but guess what? I think their paths are going to cross in some way, in some significant way. And they say after their paths cross, an unimaginable chain of events follow. And I want to know what those unimaginable chain of events are, since obviously I can't imagine them. They're unimaginable. So I want to find out what it is about. And I really have not heard a lot about this book on BookTube. It doesn't mean they're not talking about it. Maybe just the particular channels I watch have not talked about it. But if you know about this book, or you've heard people talk about it and you've heard good things, let me know. If you heard bad things, maybe I don't want to know, because I do want to give this book a shot. But it sounds amazing. I remember just being so happy with how gorgeous this purple and gold cover was, but let me know what you've heard. All right, the next one is Descendant of the Crane. This has been all over BookTube, or really was all over BookTube in the spring. I think a lot of people did this. There was some kind of, I want to say like an Asian-a-thon. I might be saying that completely wrong, but it was something Asian themed, and there was a readathon that I think a lot of people were using this book for. This is a book that's not an arc, but I did get a free copy of it at BookCon, where there's a whole story that goes on that I've told about 3 or 4 times, which I'm not going to tell it again. But if you've seen any of my other videos where I've talked about this book, I got this free at BookCon, but it wasn't exactly free. I had to work for it because it's complicated. Our main character is the Princess Yasina of Han, and that was very hard for me to say, who has never wanted any of the responsibilities of her kingdom, and she basically dreams of, I guess, a more ordinary life. And then her father, the king, is found dead. She believes he's been murdered, and she also thinks that the killer is somebody that she knows. So she ends up turning to somebody who is a brilliant investigator, but also a convicted criminal. I don't know who this is. This is just all in the synopsis, to help her figure all of this out. I can't really say I've heard good things or bad things about this, since I heard more people use these in their TBRs. So I would love to know if you've heard about this book. Now, the next book I'm going to share with you is not a new release. In fact, I think this book has been out for a very, very, very long time, but is one of those books that a lot of people say is a must read. You must read it at some point, and that would be The Book Thief. And I purchased this, gosh, a long time ago, and once again, I think I've put this up as something I was in a readathon TBR multiple times, and for some reason never get to it. It's supposed to be set in 1939 Nazi Germany, and the main character is Liesel, who discovers this book by her brother's grave, and she supposedly falls in love with the book and falls in love with reading and starts stealing books, I guess, all around these Nazis. Not sure how all that works out. Oh, wait a minute. She's stealing books. Duh. She's stealing books from books that are going to be burned, because there's a lot of book burning during that time. And she's also, I think, stealing books from the mayor's wife's library. I don't know, which is why she's called the book thief. Makes sense, right? Also, she is hiding a Jewish man in her house. I will say there is always been a little hesitation with this book, because I have a hard time reading about Nazis and the Holocaust and all of that. It sometimes can literally make me physically ill to read about just humans that were that evil. But I've had so many people who say, look, I feel the same way. I can't read those books either. You can handle this. So I can't really use that as an excuse either. Once again, I want to say the size is also what is intimidating. But then when I show you some of these books I read in my wrap-ups, I know you're going to go, what are you talking about? Look at these huge books you read in the past month. That doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why I haven't read it, but that's all I got. That's all I got. All right, on to We Hunt the Flame. I've heard so many wonderful things about this book as well. This is another book that has two main characters. The first main character is Zafira. Zafira is a hunter who is disguising herself as a man in order to feed her people. And she's having to brave like this cursed forest in order to do it. So that sounds really intense. And then the other main character is Nasir, who is the Prince of Death, who's assassinating all of those who defy his father, the Sultan. And then they are both supposedly sent to retrieve this lost artifact. A lost artifact that can restore magic. I'm telling you, there are a lot of books out there now about people finding some lost artifacts or looking for lost artifacts or looking for things to restore magic. That seems to be a very popular theme or trope in books nowadays. So obviously if they're going after the same artifact, I'm pretty sure it sounds like they're on very opposite sides of this whole political whatever government that they are in. There's going to be a story there, and that's going to be the story of We Hunt the Flame. So please, once again, if you've read We Hunt the Flame, let me know what you thought. All right, I have another book that I am nervous to hold up because I know people are gonna go like, she has got to be kidding. She has not read that one either. No, I have still not read Nevernight. I know, it's horrible. Not the book. The fact that I haven't read it is horrible. Let me clarify. For those of you out there who don't know what this is about, since I'm sure 99% of you out there have not only know what it's about, you've already read it, and you probably already read the sequel. Is the third one out? I think there might even be a third one out. That is how behind I am on this. But it's supposed to be about a woman named Mia who goes to some assassin school, I guess because she wants to avenge her family's deaths or murders. And I've read a little bit of it, and I did find it kind of fascinating because it was kind of like two people were telling the story, but like from different points of view, but in the same, like there'd be a paragraph of like something that happened, and then there's another paragraph about the same event, but it'd be told slightly different. So it definitely sounds interesting, and I definitely should read it, and I've had so many people tell me to read it, and you probably should tell me too. I need to read this, don't I? I really should. I know. It's time. It's overdue. It's not overdue at the library because I own it. I want to make that clear. I don't have any overdue library books, but it's overdue that I read this book. All right, the next book is a newer book. It is called Crier's War. It's by Nina Varela. And in this book, it's where robots, or they're called autome, have taken over humanity. So it starts off that humans create these autome or robots to serve them, and then they somehow take over, I don't know, and now humans serve the robots, is what I understand. This is another book that has two main characters. Our first main character is Ayla, who is a human servant. She's rising in the ranks in the House of Sovereign, and she's bent on avenging the death of her family by killing the Sovereign's daughter, Lady Crier. Well, Lady Crier, I believe, is the second main character. And she is discovering, now she's an autome, and she's discovering that her father is not quite the good guy she thought he was. And she's also having to prepare that she is going to rule over the land. And obviously these two are going to meet up, and I believe we're going to have some kind of a romance between an autome and a human, which should be very interesting. It's also an LGBTQ romance, I believe, because I believe they're both female. Sounds very interesting. I had somebody leave a comment in one of my other videos saying that this book was just fabulous and that they stayed up one night, or they had to stay up one night just because they had 300 pages left and they just had to get through it. So it sounds really good. I'm hoping that this is not a book that stays on my shelf for like a year. I'm hoping I get to it sooner. But yeah. Crier's War is a newer book and supposed to be fabulous. All right, we have two more to go. I have one more to show that's quite embarrassing, and that is Alice in Zombieland. I know some of you are hitting your head against the wall going, oh my God, how many times is this girl going to show this book before she actually reads it? I know, it's getting really sad. This is also supposed to be a series, and this one, Alice's family has been destroyed by zombies, and I've said before, I don't know if that means that they become zombies, because I don't know, do zombies only kill you? Don't you turn into a zombie if they bite you? I don't know, but she's lost her family to zombies, but this also kind of follows an Alice in Wonderland as much as it can. I did read the first chapter. It sounded really interesting. It did sound like it was following Alice in Wonderland, but in a zombie way, and it's supposed to be really great. Once again, need to read it, All right, and the last book I'm going to show you is Wicked Saints. This is the last one that I'm sitting there thinking I've got to read. So this is now 20, guys. I've now shown you 20 YA novels on my shelf that I really need to read. This is another one where I've actually have read the first chapter, and it was really, really good. The main character is a girl named Nadja, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, who has the ability to hear the whispers of the gods. It's also supposed to be about a prince who is surrounded by suitors, and he's also supposed to be surrounded by deadly assassins. So that's the suitors and deadly assassins. I hope they're not all one and the same, because that could be crazy. And there's also supposed to be a monster. I don't know what kind of monster, but there's supposed to be like three of these, the girl and the prince and this monster that are supposed to collide in some way. I've heard mixed. I've heard people who have loved this book, and I've heard people who have been like, It was okay. So I don't know where I'm going to fall, because some of those people who said it was okay have said that about books that I've absolutely loved. So I would love to hear your thoughts about this one as well. So that is the last book that I wanted to show you. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I will follow you right back. I'm so excited that I've been able to do another Gimme 5 or More. I'm super excited about the next Gimme 5 or More, because the next Gimme 5 or More is going to be about all the books that I'm looking forward to that are coming out in 2020. I didn't realize that they'd made so many announcements and that they already knew so many books that are coming out in 2020, and I was reading up, and I'm going to show you the ones that I am super excited about, and hopefully that will be coming out soon, because I also have to do my Reese Witherspoon, I have to do my fall wrap. I have so many videos. I have not been making videos, and I am really behind, but I'm going to be catching up, so you're going to be seeing lots of videos in the next 6 weeks, hopefully. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.